Yes, there's one thing you need in your life as the Premier League returns. Well, it's only meaningful metrics. What's going to happen in week one? What's going to happen as the season develops? And just to remind you that meaningful metrics on Off the Ball is in partnership with the Whoop, personalised digital fitness and health coach that helps you unlock your inner potential. See whoop.com for more. Your inner potential. Have you realised your inner potential?
I would argue that, Johnny, that there is nothing more certain in this world that I have not realised my inner potential.
Great future behind you.
Oh God, I've been thinking about my great future and how it's passed me by for many's a year now. But
I would like to point out that earlier on today, your beautiful son came into the office.
It's my future now,
and he was all smiles. So I think your present and future is actually very, very pleasant.
That's true. That's true. I suppose I'm thinking of from a sporting point of view, given this conversation.
I am
my two children will be what I will live vicariously through. You're supposed to do that. That's how you're supposed to parent, isn't it?
Don't look at me.
Live the dreams that I didn't.
Yeah. There is always that.
Even if you don't like it, like, just please do it.
Yeah, I never had the chance you have. So I mean, you better accept your.
Or I had them and
squandered
it away.
Pissed it away. Speaking of which. So the Irish Independent's Aidan O'Hara put up a tweet during the week, which was a link to a photo of, I think, the Premier League captains, possibly the first year of the Premier League, give or take the early 90s. And he made a comment that really resonated with me, something like, I think I recognise more of them than the captains of today's Premier League team. So we are in that age bracket. And we're talking about Go United bringing out a retro jersey before we came on air. In 1991 they won the cup and all that, and I can remember stuff from the early to mid 90s more than I can remember 7 or 8 years ago. It's kind of mad.
That is mad. So when I tell you in a couple of minutes, say I have a few stats about kind of the opening day of the season, if I tell you about the times when the eventual champions lost, you feel like that there's more chance that you remember the
mid 90s,
the earlier ones, than the more
100%.
recent.
And that's probably a rarity as well, in that the original champions lost on day one. I'm looking forward to the days when I hated Manchester United with a passion and they had a blip on day one. And there were a couple of them.
This is exactly it. Actually, let's start with that then, okay? So I've gone through the 30 seasons of the Premier League, by the way. It's like, and people do get annoyed sometimes when you kind of start with the Premier League thing.
It must have been the first season 30 years ago.
So it's 30 years ago, right? So we've had 30 years. This is year 31 now we're going into, which is quite phenomenal, really, that amount of time has passed. But, people do get annoyed football didn't start in 1992. Well, for the purpose of statistics, it's very easy to get Premier League only years. There was, I have to be honest with that. But also there is a natural modernity that starts at 92 for various reasons, be it the Champions League, be it the Premier League, be it the bloody back pass rule, whatever way you want to talk about it.
We're not talking about Pol Pot's year zero here, where they manufacture something. The Premier League was the start of something entirely different in terms of money and all that. It did change English football forever.
Yeah.
So it's not like some kind of marketing gimmick. That did change. Everything changed then in terms of the money that came in. It became what it is today. So I think as much as it wasn't the start, football 30 years is it's a good number as well.
Yeah, 30 years is it's great this year to start, especially with the 92-93 season. So I cross-referenced the champions of each of the 30 seasons with their result on the first day of the season. I don't think it'll be a massive surprise to see that there's a good record for those teams, but it's actually a little bit better than I expected. Of the 30 years, the eventual champions won 20 of their first day fixtures, drew 6 and lost only 4.
Now that would be a very good quiz question. Name the 4 teams who won the league but lost on the opening days. Only 4 out of 30.
Only 4 out of 30 lost. Now,
talk to me.
Well, do you want to guess, or do you want me to kind of keep going?
Have you seen me on the crappy quiz?
Of 4 of 30, one of them was the first year of the Premier League,
which was Man United.
Man United lost to Sheffield United,
who had they just signed.
No,
had they just sold Brian Deane?
Brian Deane was there. Brian Deane scored.
He scored the first goal in the Premier League.
Yeah, that surely wasn't against Manchester. It must have been. There you go. There's two statistics brought into each other. Yeah. So Manchester United lost that to Sheffield United in 1992, and that's one of 4. A second of 4 is the first game of the season last season. Manchester City lost to Spurs. Quickly forgotten. Now I wager that you've forgotten that and the Sheffield United one, but that you'll remember the other 2, right?
He was the scorer of the first ever goal in the Premier League. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He was the scorer of the first goal in the Premier League when he was a Sheffield United player, which presumably in 1992 was against. So now we're fast forwarding to Spurs and City and
last season. So I'm just saying that they happen to be bookended. Only 4 in 30 years, and they happen to be bookended.
What were the other two?
The other two, okay, they were both Manchester United. That's not it's not a knock on Man United, considering they won most of the leagues.
If you were born in recent years, this may shock you, but
I guarantee you remember both of these games. Okay, 1995-96.
That was the year they won it with kids.
That was the year they won. Yeah, they weren't going to win it with kids after the first day, but eventually did. It was. You don't remember who?
No, I'll remember it when you tell me.
Aston Villa. 3. Manchester United 1. Manchester United wearing grey jerseys. Beautiful August afternoon. I remember very well as a Villa fan. Savo Milosevic.
Yes.
Star of the show.
Yes, I do remember. They were playing 3-5-2, very nice style at the time, under that genial Englishman.
John Gregory? Well, no, Brian Little. Brian Little. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, way before John Gregory.
And of course, that was. I presume that was the night that Alan Hansen came out with the outburst. That was the night.
Yeah, so that's the you don't.
What was the other one? And there are people remembering.
Again, one of only, if he had done that on 26 occasions, he would have been proved right, because generally, the teams who win the championship don't lose in the first day of the season. The other one then was a very, very important game in Manchester United's history, because it was the first day of the season on the last Alex Ferguson title.
Okay.
And it was Everton 1, Manchester United 0. Now, if you remember this game, this was Marianne Fellaini scored the goal and dominated Manchester United for 90 minutes. The goal was almost only an afterthought, given how much he destroyed them. And that was the match that many would say convinced Alex Ferguson that, this job is hard now. And also David Moyes is the man that's going to come and take the mantle.
On the first thing, well, maybe Moyes should have gotten more time.
Well, I don't know about that.
This is my most fun.
I don't think Moyes could have turned that around,
because it's basically a pub question. It's really, really difficult.
It's
really difficult.
But I think Spurs' record against City has been very good, which kind of makes that maybe that's one of the tougher fixtures that anybody had, I guess, away to Spurs. But other than that, it's interesting Manchester United stories. Teams generally don't lose on the first day, and they do tend to win. 66% of the time the champions have gone on to win. So just one, if you're thinking of Fulham versus Liverpool or West Ham versus City this week, either if Fulham or West Ham get something out of that game, you're thinking the stats don't look great for you to go on and win the league.
Well, just remind, Liverpool are not the champions, so it will have to be.
But I'm saying of the potential champions from this season.
Sorry, of course.
These are teams that went on to win the league.
Fulham will not be beating Liverpool, I would imagine. But there's a chance Man City will come unstuck at, like, West Ham are a good side.
David Moyes is a good first day of the season manager. We've
already talked about that. It would be a massive leap of faith were Fulham to beat Liverpool, and I think you could nearly rule Liverpool out of the title race if they're going to be losing to Fulham.
Yeah,
there we go.
And I'll throw another Fulham stat at you. Okay, this is a great one. Fulham have been promoted to the Premier League. This is to the top division. In this, I'm pre 1992 here, Johnny. Pat in the back for me. They've been promoted to the top division on, this is their 6th occasion. On the previous 5, in 1949, 1959, 2001, 2018 and 2020, they have lost their first day of the season game. So
again,
I have a feeling you could probably just tick off, make that 6.
Yeah.
Or next year's meeting like or in 2 years when they come back up again.
Scott Parker's going to make us look like fools.
Yeah, if they beat Liverpool, in fairness, they'll have ended that particular curse in style, you have to say. But yeah, no, even to get a draw would end that.
The big thing about Fulham is Mitrovic. Like, can he? Like, I didn't realise how many goals he scored last season, but it's a totally different level.
Is he in your fancy football team?
He's not. I say the last time I was doing fancy football was around about 1995, 96. I was a bit infatuated.
I'm brilliant at fancy football in August, I have to say.
You don't win anything in August. You don't win anything when kids are in August. What else we got, Mike?
But Mitrovic is in there, 6.5 million. He's probably worth it. And Shane Duffy on the team now as well.
Indeed,
makes them worth watching. But it's early for tomorrow. Just a couple of little things. So August 5th, obviously today, Arsenal, Crystal Palace about to kick off. Earliest ever Premier League kick-off date. Obviously the November-December World Cup messing up with everything, but we are used to an August start. It doesn't feel all that weird, especially with the GEA kind of over, but you do forget that this is very, very early this is like a good 2 weeks earlier than usual. So it'll be interesting as the season goes on, actually. Like, there hasn't been much of an off-season. Now, it wasn't the World Cup or European Championships year, so maybe at Premier League level that's not such a big deal because most of these players are used to playing nearly 11-month season at this stage. But again,
I don't know how they do it, but I think the fact that there hasn't been a World Cup or Euros is very significant. I think that's more significant than the season starting a bit early, to be honest, because I think a lot of players are knackered.
There was the Euros last year, and there's going to be a World Cup.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They've had a break in the summer.
Yeah, no, they have. There has been somewhat of a preseason, a full preseason for these teams. Even though we had the Nations League like well into June,
we did, yeah,
as well, which is like, and a lot of teams play more games in the Nations League than they would have in a tournament. There was a four game international window there, Mo Salah and Jamie Vardy have both scored on the opening day of the season 7 times, or they've scored 7 goals. Sorry, on the opening day of the season. The record. This is the record is actually held by the 3 most obvious people with 8. So Salah and Vardy could equal 8. Do you want to have a throw at the 3 most obvious people who have the most goals on opening days?
There are 3 others with 8.
Yeah, Premier League now. This is
Premier League.
Again, I've turned it into a quiz. The stats bit.
Van Nistelrooy.
No. Van Nistelrooy wouldn't have been around long enough. Alan Shearer. Yeah.
Andy Cole.
No. Alan Shearer, who has most goals in Premier League history, also has the most.
How far is he ahead actually in that?
Oh, he's a good bit. Rooney is next.
Okay.
And is also on this list.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rooney has 200 and I don't know what it is, 20. Shearer's well ahead anyway. He's at least 40 goals ahead of anybody else, if not more. And of active players, I think Harry Kane might be bloody next at this stage. You know what I mean? He's way ahead. And Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard, Rooney and Shearer have all scored 8 goals on the opening day of the season. As I said, Salah and Vardy, who are still playing, have 7 each. Here's a little one, right? There's been 25 0-all draws in the 270 games. This is since the league became 20 teams in, I think it was 1996, right? 1995, 96.
There have been...
There's been 25 0-all draws.
1 in 11, give or take.
9%.
Yeah.
You're very good, right? 9%. The average of Premier League history is around about 5 or 6. So
okay.
that's actually if you take they're pretty big
anomalies.
So I don't know, if you're doing picks for this week, you know what I mean, 0-all a little bit more so on the first day of the season.
Like 0-all draw, like if you're talking about the top teams now, 0-all draw, and if you're ever looking at betting, 0-all draw used to be give or take 9 or 10 to 1. 0-all draw just does not happen in these games at all anymore. Liverpool are never involved in 0-all draws. Basically, they just always score.
Yeah,
and so do Man City. Yeah. But that's interesting. So there's
more 0-alls. Maybe it's people who are a little bit more prepared, I suppose, as well. And the negative teams aren't getting caught out the back. I don't know. It is like a 3% difference there is actually a pretty big. There's a big sample size here,
and it's fair.
So,
it's absolutely.
It's a definite statistic. Okay, just a few more kind of like individual.
I want this all day. I love this.
Yeah. Okay. A few
Catherine, more. Our producer is smiling in the background. She's loving this.
Catherine's bored out of her head, I can tell.
No, she's not. This is also a bit of
vigorously.
I love a bit of nostalgia as well.
Man City, as I mentioned, they lost to Spurs, and they're playing West Ham obviously away. Not the easiest opening fixture. They've lost 3 of their last 6 opening day games.
City.
Yeah,
that's
can you
insane.
Believe that?
That's
especially considering
insane.
They've won
best Premier League team of all time.
They've won 4 out of the last 5 leagues.
That's mad.
And they've lost 3 of their opening 6.
Which would give hope to West Ham.
Last 6 on their opening games. Before that, they went 26 seasons unbeaten on the opening day.
26-0.
Well, yeah.
They went 26 when they were like a good.
Yeah, exactly.
Team,
yeah.
Sometimes,
and since they've become the best team and possibly in Premier League history, they've lost 3 out of 6.
I think that's a really interesting anomaly.
And watch out if you're another one for David Moyes to mark off. I mentioned Fulham's poor record.
David Moyes might actually hear about this, and I tell you why.
Yeah,
because we've Lauro on the show tomorrow. Okay. Lauro frequently references the fact that he's very good mates with Moisey.
You might mention it to him.
I will obviously say to Lauro over the course of our conversation, Football Saturday is back tomorrow. So on and so forth.
Go away?
And then he'll be straight on the phone to Moisey. Oh, by the way, just in case you didn't know, there we are.
Yeah. We mentioned Fulham's peculiar record of having never won, but taking teams with a big sample
lost,
size.
Actually. They've just lost every game, haven't they?
Yeah, but they were only on their promoted seasons. So they were in the Premier League for a good old stretch of time there. They weren't losing every game, but every time they were promoted, they've lost the next game. The team with the worst record overall on the opening game of the season is Southampton. So they're on they haven't won in their last 8 opening games. They've played 8, lost 4, drawn 4, and they're the only in 23 of the 30 years Southampton have been in the Premier League, and they have only won on 2 occasions.
Oh my God!
On the opening day of the season.
Most of those
they're away to Spurs again. Just tick off another one. That's going to be 2 out of 24, I think.
And when was the end of the Dell?
The Dell, oh my God, I don't know,
so
yeah.
The guts of 2/3 of those games were in St Mary's, and whether that's a good or a bad thing in terms
Well, I
of
don't know if they were home or away, and
probably half and half,
Yeah.
obviously, but they've a terrible first day record.
Yeah, so they're the team with the worst one. The team with the best one, by ratio, I suppose, of how many years they've played, a team that are coming back to us after all these years, Nottingham Forest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest, best win ratio in the opening match of the season, Premier League history. 4 of their previous 5 games they've won. So they've been in the league 5 years, they've won 4 of them.
Great to have them back
after 23 years.
Great to have Forest and Leeds. You know, you feel a bit like it was like when I was...
They were in the pictures that we were looking at in 1992.
I think it was like... Forest was... God, I have to find this now. The Leeds... Who's the Leeds captain, was it? The face is in my head, but I'm getting a little bit forgetful. Who's the Leeds captain?
I don't know. I'm struggling there. I'd recognise him if I've seen him.
Blonde.
David Batty?
No.
Lee Chapman?
Lee Chapman.
Okay.
I think it was Lee Chapman, yeah.
There you go. Who was Forest then? Stuart Pearce, obviously.
It would have been Piercy, I suppose, who subsequently managed them after Brian Clough left, and Mark White was the Liverpool captain at that time.
Okay.
I remember, I got into Liverpool in Graham Souness's reign. We're talking about this the other morning about Man United, and that they're like the Liverpool of old now, that it's almost like this boot room kind of thing, that they're going back to Fergie and they'll go back to the past. But I remember under Suey, Liverpool won their first 3 games in one of those seasons. They beat Swindon 5-0. Swindon's one year in the Premier League, and Liverpool and Everton started amazingly well, and then of course, well, it all went massively downhill under Graham Souness. But that must be like 92,
93.
93,
Yeah, it would have been first year
Suey.
of it all. FA Cup champions at the time as well.
What else we got?
What else? We don't have much more, actually.
I just
you know
want
what?
to
No more. I'm going to throw in
forever.
a Villa one, because why not?
A lot of people of my vintage would have been Villa fans,
and it's not a great one.
Paul McGrath and Steve Staunton those days.
It's away to Bournemouth, 3 o'clock on Saturday, 3 o'clock tomorrow. Not a good record against Bournemouth, actually. The 2 seasons Bournemouth were in the Premier League, they beat Villa 3 times. But
And Arsenal lost their first game last season at Bournemouth. That was a
Brentford.
Friday night game. No, that was Brentford.
yeah,
actually.
Bournemouth just got promoted. So you're getting confused between your B teams.
I'm like an old man
in the
here.
south of England.
Yeah.
No, but Villa's have only won 1 of their last 5 opening day Premier League games against newly promoted teams. So it's 1 of their 5 that they've played against newly promoted teams. Playing Bournemouth this week.
And they've Mark Travers to deal with.
I've high anxiety about this game, Johnny.
As a villain.
Villa don't tend to do well, as is proven by this stat, against these teams. So again, if you're just thinking about your picks, I think people are... I used to do a thing where I'd make a score prediction for every game, and you have a league that can be kept over the season.
It's not a bad show.
I just realised nobody's activated now. We've only got about 2 minutes. Damn it. Missed out on it this year. But anyway, one to look for. Bournemouth. All the history and stats would suggest that they're going to get something off Villa.
And one of our few Irish Premier League players, and Travers, and then you have obviously a handful of outfield players. It's slim pickings.
Yeah, well, we've 3 goalkeepers.
3 goalkeepers, yeah.
And everybody else.
Yeah, Kelleher obviously trying to come back. Is that what we got? That maybe... Have we any more meaningful metrics?
Not now. Do you want to know what the biggest win is in the first day of the season?
Ooh. What year?
2010-11. So 2010.
Tell me.
Chelsea 6, West Brom 0. And this one I don't remember. Didier Drogba got a hat-trick. Malouda got a couple of goals. And of course, Chelsea win 6-0 in 2010. Frank Lampard was in there for one.
Well, of course, is now the Everton manager, and many people's idea of somebody who will be under pressure sooner or later.
He's the idea of someone that might be under pressure. I would think Frank Lampard is not far away from being under pressure. They're playing Chelsea tomorrow evening. That's the first Saturday evening game of the season. Lamps against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You know, the Premier League has come around quickly, but to be fair, the 2022-23 renewal looks utterly compelling, and some really interesting transfers between some of the top sides, and just the never-ending madness of Manchester United.
It does look like it could continue.
Speaking of madness, that was Meaningful Metrics on Off the Ball, and that was in partnership with Whoop, the personalised digital fitness and health coach, which helps you unlock your inner potential. Michael and I may have agreed that we have not, as yet, unlocked our inner potential. See whoop.com for more.
Meaningful Metrics on Off the Ball.
In partnership with Whoop, the personalised digital fitness and health coach that helps you unlock your inner potential. See whoop.com for more.